V1. Rotate.
Hello pilots and pilotesses, welcome back to another Flight Sim 008 video. We're back at our home base, Leeds, Bradford, where we landed in the last episode. And today we'll be operating Flight 844, radio call sign 84 Hotel, down from Leeds to Sion in Switzerland. It's in the Alps, just near Geneva, actually. It's just past dawn. I'm excited to get underway. But before we do that, let's have a look at the charts and the weather. Alright, partly cloudy in Leeds this morning. The winds out of the west, 13 knots. Temperature is 13, dew point 8. Few clouds at 2000, scattered at 2800. QNH 1021, bit of high pressure. That's fine with me. Good visibility. So we're looking at a pretty standard Leeds crosswind departure this morning. That's not what I meant to do. Let's do this. There we go. Flight dispatch page. So we are operating Flight 844. The radio call sign 84 Echo. I may have written down hotel, and I may have actually said that in the intro. We'll change that to 84 Echo. The division, it's a scheduled European flight. The equipment is a Dash 8400. Estimated duration 2 hours 20 minutes. Approximate distance 651 nautical miles. Our handy little map view, which I almost forgot to do. We are starting in Leeds, Bradford, working our way past down Manchester to the west of London, over the Channel, past Paris, just north of Geneva, and then into this zone, the Alps. So we'll have a look at our arrival star and the procedure a little bit further along once we're in the cruise. And once we have a suitable idea of what the weather is going to look like at our destination, and we can pick an arrival runway. We are flying on Vatsim today. Not much in the way of control this morning. We do have Eurocontrol East. Their control zone kind of borders where we might be starting our top of descent. We're only cruising at flight level 230 anyway. We may have to talk to them, we may not. But we'll see who else springs up along the way in terms of ATC. So first for the channel will be online. We'll have a look at our charts quickly. We are on stand 11 today, departing off runway 32 with the winds out of the west. So we'll be pushing back on Alpha taxiway and then down Delta. We'll see if we can get them to push us with the nose in a direction today, or if they're in a better mood than they were last time. I highly doubt it. The airport overview view chart is sort of unnecessary at this point. We already have our game plan. We're around here. We'll be taxiing down the Delta. We'll definitely have to hold at Delta 1 and announce our intentions before we take position on the runway, as there is a possibility of other traffic today. Our departure SID, the first waypoint in our route was actually Pole Hill today, but because we're departing off runway 32, we'll end up at Nelsa. I don't want to have to go Nelsa down to Pole Hill, so I've actually, we're going to disregard Pole Hill altogether and go from Nelsa direct to the next waypoint and then on course. It's pretty much the same thing as last time in terms of restrictions. We'll get all of the frequencies set up in our nav radios. We'll monitor the altitudes. We do have an ultimate altitude restriction of flight level 70. So I've got the speed cards open up in the other tab. We'll check our weights, we'll check our passengers, the fuel, all that good stuff. We'll jump into the flight deck and start getting set up. We just stepped out onto the ramp area. I've completed my walk around. I'm not a real pilot, so I don't know what to look for. The wings looked like they were attached to the aircraft. The engines looked like they were attached to the wings. We have 2 main gear and a nose gear. The spinny things at the front of the engine look fine. And the catering looks like the snacks are to my liking. I have no idea what to look for. I mean, the aircraft looks like it's in one piece, and that's good enough for me. So we're definitely going to have to start by establishing some power into the aircraft and setting up for our flight. The passengers are still in the terminal. They're still two-dimensional and checking in, dropping off their bags, all that good stuff. Alright, we're in the flight deck. Everything is cold and dark, so let's get some power to the aircraft. Batteries, when they go on, is from right to left. When they go off, it's left to right. We will turn the bus tie on. And everything's starting to power up. Go ahead and turn on the flight management computers and the radios. The default announcements, I'm probably just going to turn that off so that we can have a little bit more peace and quiet and I don't get unexpected announcements while I'm trying to talk over the flight attendant. Screens are powering up.
Bank angle.
Bank angle to you too. We will get the recirc fan
Ladies
going.
and gentlemen, welcome on board our Dash 8.
See, this is what I mean. I don't want that.
Just
No
waiting
smoking's
for
already
the
on.
rest of
The
luggage to load on board.
emergency lights are already
We'll have to
armed.
wait in a few minutes.
Get some power to the
Health entire
aircraft,
flight
so
crew.
like so, and we'll get the GPU set up. Like so. You know what? I might leave the music on for now. That's kind of cool. Okay, we'll put the captain's side onto the doors page, like so, and like so. And we'll take our side to the nav display. There we go. Alright. Flight plan. Echo Golf November Mike. We are going to Nelsa. Where's S? Really kind of wish they made this like a regular keyboard. Then we are going to Barton, B-A-R-T-N. Romeo, Tango, November. Sorry, I'm just checking on my other screen as well, just to make sure I've got the spelling right and all of that. From there, we are taking an airway. We are taking the Upper Lima 612, not the Lima 612. This is where it can get confusing. So number 4, and we're getting off that at Oglu. Oglu. Where is Oglu? 23, I believe. Let me just cross-check that. O-G-U-L-O, O-G-U-L-O. That looks good to me. 23, enter. From there, we are jumping on Upper Quebec 223, so list, airway, Upper Quebec 223. That's an easy one. We're getting off of that at Lusar, so just one waypoint. Then we are on Upper Mike 975, that one, to a place called Mullis. Mullis is number 5. From there, we are on Upper November 871. Upper November 871, number 10, to a place called Sosal. And where is... oh, it's number 1. Alright. Then we can put our arrival airfield in, which is Lima Sierra... Golf Sierra. S, like so. We'll talk about the arrival a little bit later. Let's go back up to the top. We have a semblance of a flight plan here. Menu. Depart. We're off runway 32. And the Nelsa 3 Whiskey. Like so. Insert that into the flight plan. A whole bunch of dots. Let's check for discontinuities. We shall do so like so. And then if I can adjust the view, there we go. Hold down the format button down here. Nope, not hold down. I want to press. There we go. And we will leave the range the way it is. So we've got our departure down to Nelsa, then Barton, then Lawville, Midhurst, Welle, Lusar, and all the way down to our arrival. So Sosal being up here, we'll program something of a semblance of an arrival when we have the weather into the arrival field. So like that. And we will tighten it up a little bit, like so I can see where I'm flying. Alright, let's put in the weights. We have 69 passengers. I think it's 900, I'll double check off camera, but it's 900 kilos of cargo. Fuel on board is 1410 per tank, like so. And our alternate fuel, reserve fuel, is 1162. Like so. There we go. We have all of that in. We can go ahead and put this to nav. I'll just clear the little flashy message. Like so. clear the flashy message. Wow, say that 5 times fast. And I will exfil, crossfill, flight plan, fuel, etc. Stick that to nav. Let's check if the captain's side is correct. Yep, looks good to me. We'll keep his on the terrain for the flight. We'll take the weather on the right. We'll move over the HSI to our side. Set the barometric pressure, which before I said was 1021 hectopascals, showing about 700 feet. That is correct. I've already looked up our weights, and we can plug in our V-speeds. V1 and VR are 124, like so. Like so. 2, 3, 4. I'll bring this up so that we can all see it. And our V2 speed is 127. Again, I'm not going to use the V open, V fry, V whatever you want to call it, flaps retraction speed and climb speed and all of that. I'll just play it by ear. A good way, I've heard this a couple of times, a good way to know if you have external power or if you have or power at all other than the batteries supplied to the aircraft is if the engine anti-ices, are those the intakes or the engine? Engine intake anti-ices are lit up green. So if you have green lights on there, then you have power coming to the aircraft. Or at least DC power. So let's turn on some lights here. As I said, the emergency lights are already armed. We'll leave the APU off for now. We can turn the logo light on, the position lights on, wing inspection. Let's get it lit up like a Christmas tree for the ramp guys outside. And I think we're pretty much ready to start taking on our passengers as we continue our setup of the aircraft. Not too much to do now. Rather quick today. Turn the anti-skid on. We will turn the nose wheel steering off. Maybe that will help them turn the aircraft this time. And we'll set up the MCP in a second. Get the passengers rather boarded, and we'll get on our way to Sion. It's looking like a lovely morning here at Leeds, Bradford. Okay, the passengers are mostly boarded. We have our radios all set up, so Unicom 122.8, I'll just switch that over. Just a little caveat, I've done a little bit of tweaking and I've done a little bit of testing while being on Vatsim and recording at the same time. Unfortunately, I can't separate the audio track or the audio profile from vPilot from the rest of the audio, and I kind of wanted to do that in order to kind of adjust the volume settings, because some controllers are louder, some people are louder. I have no idea what this is going to be like, so apologies if things are a little out of whack. If you hear a lot of like audio cutting, that's because I had to go in there manually and adjust some volume settings if there was somebody talking on the frequency and it was too loud. So we'll see how this ends up, and I'll adjust it for the future. Getting back to the radios, VHF1 on Unicom, no controllers as of yet. We have our ILS frequency set in 110.9. That's for our DME from the field outbound. And then VOR2 is set to Pole Hill, so we'll keep an eye on those. Our transponder is currently off, but we're squawking 2000. Let's go ahead and fire up the APU. So we'll go with power and start. We'll do its little self-check. We can... Well, the recirc fan is already on. Let's turn the seatbelt signs on, like so. I'm going to set the GPWS landing flap, down to... Come on, you can do it. There we go. All the way down to 35, is it? Just because, like I said, it's a steep approach, very mountainous. I want to take this as slow as possible, get configured as early as possible. I'm actually going to pull up the checklists that come with the Majestic -8, because I can't seem to keep things in order. So we're going with checklists. Alright, let's do this with the checklists. That'll be a little bit more professional. Documentation, on board-ish. Batteries, on and checked. Main bus tie goes to tie, that is checked. DC external power, APU is on. Yep. You can go ahead and turn the gen on, turn the bleed air on, like so. You know what? I got tired of that in the last recording. Let's leave the bleed air off. We don't really need it anyway. It's fine outside. The temperature's fine. Bus voltages, sure, why not? Safety equipment, yep. That sure might be on board. Landing gear, lights and pins. Well, we have 3 green. Landing gear is down and locked. That's good. Engine intake doors, those are green. Circuit breakers, not modeled. Behind him anyway. Alt gear door inhibit switch, norm. Sure, why not? Fire and smoke detection tested. Let's press the buttons. Hang on. There we go. That seems to work. That seems to work. That seems to work. That also seems to work. Did I inadvertently shut off the APU? I may have. Let's go ahead and start that back up. It's probably not good for the APU, but oh well. Not my aircraft. Circuit breakers, where were we? Bleed air 1 and 2 are off. APU bleeds as required. We'll leave them off. Recirc fan is on. Pressurization set and checked. No. What's our landing altitude? I have no idea. Let's go to arrival in the page, in the flight plan page for Fly UK, and we will set that. It's 1581, so 1600 feet. Put that right about, let's see, 1000, 1500. Yeah, right around there. That's good. I'll take it. Oops. Nope. There we go. Next, we have AC packs checked. Emergency lights are armed. Fuel transfer quantity is no. We have 1405 and 1410. That's fine. Power and condition levers, disc, and fuel cutoff. That is good. Nose wheel steering is off, which we did earlier. FMS is set on both sides. Takeoff and departure briefing. Well, we'll be pushing back who knows how using that guy over there. We'll be taxiing down Delta to runway 32, announce our intentions, and it's the Nelsa 3 Whiskey departure SID out of Leeds with the altitude restriction of flight level 70, which we can set in our MCP. So, captain's side will set FMS 1, our side will set FMS 2. Course we'll leave blank for now. 320 is runway heading, like so. Get this up here. Altitude. Put in 70 as our target. We will turn it to LNAV and pitch hold. Initially at least 15-degree pitch up. Alt cell. That is all good. We have our V speeds. I will turn. Let's see. Hang on. VOR2. That is Pole Hill. And no. VOR1. That would be the field. Perfect. I think that is the flight deck safety checks complete before start. Trims set to 0, well, set 3 times. So we've got our stab trim, hang on, as I move the view. Takeoff trim we'll set just a little bit further, like so. This is all out of whack here, so let's go ahead and the aileron trim, put it just about at neutral, and the rudder trim goes to neutral. Good. And back to the FO side. Let's see, that's that. Doors and fueling lights. Let's go over to the doors page on the captain's side. Doors. So we still have the doors open. I know for a fact that the passengers are on board, and I know for a fact that the luggage is loaded. So that is all. Just waiting for that to go green. Great, we can turn the captain's side over to nav. We will turn the weather radar to standby. And I will take the weather radar on standby on my side. Did I tighten? Yeah, okay, cool. Anti-skid Oh, that was already on. Alright. This is why you adhere to the checklists, ladies and gentlemen. So before start, we have trims set 3 times. Door and fueling lights are out. Passenger signs, did I turn those on? They are on. And that is it for the before start. Oh, no, there's more. Cabin report received. Flight deck door is not modeled, but locked. Anti-call goes to red. APU bleed is already off. And batteries and bus bolts. So we'll get rid of the GPU from the ground crew. Services. Cancel. Set this back to nav. And we are ready for the pushback. Let's see which direction we face today.
And ground's cockpit, we're ready for pushback. Commencing the push, Captain. Start engines at your discretion. And set parking brakes, please.
I knew it. I knew it. They pushed us straight again. Look, the nose wheel gear steering is off. What else? I asked them to push with the nose right nicely, and we still ended up straight. Also, overkill much on the pushback truck?
Unlocking gear.
Alright. That's fine. We'll deal with it. It's going to be the same as always, the right-hand turnout, down
Captain, the
delta.
tow truck is disconnected and the bypass pin is removed.
Do I not tip you guys enough, or I don't get it. Oh well. Let's see. So the APU is on, and we can go ahead and fire up the engines. Oop, nope, like so. Let's have a look. Kind of out of the flight deck a little bit. There we go.
Left and right both clear.
I should be monitoring the engine display.
Clear to start both engines.
Yeah, I'm already doing it. Should be monitoring the engine display to make sure it's not over-temping, but I like to look outside and watch the engine spin up instead. I'm fairly confident that if there was an over-temp, I'd notice it visually outside the aircraft. Yes, that's what I'm doing. I know what to look for visually. I'm also just rambling at this point. Engine number 1. Alright. That, to me, is 2 good starts. So we can go to the after start checklist. External power / APU disconnected and off. Main bus tie off. Electrical panels checked. Condition levers go to max. Up we go. This sound. I love this sound. Wait for it. Oh yeah. There we go. Okay, so those are at max. Auto feather selected. Oops. Sorry about the jerky camera movement. Fuel pumps go on, like so. Hydraulics checked. Flaps and speeds. So flaps to 5. Speeds, we have 124, 124, 127. That is checked. Rudder, full travel. Okay. Let's bring up the captain's display. Full travel, travel. That is good. Nose wheel steering can go back on, like so. PFD, MFD, ED checked. Bleeds on to minimum, so we'll do that and that and that. So we we don't suffocate the passengers. De-icing pressure is checked. Ice protection test set. Well, we don't need it. Transponder TCAS on alt. No, we'll do that a little bit later on. Taxi. So, brakes. We will check that in a second. Takeoff warning. We will check that also in a second. Oh, we need to put 1, 2, 3, and that goes there eventually. I know that from the checklist. Takeoff power, end top, 90%. We're good. Flight instruments are checked. Number 3 hydraulic pump goes on. Yaw damper goes on, which it is. Clearances reviewed by PF and cabin secured. So I will just reset my view, like so. I will enable TrackIR, like so. Hopefully EZdok doesn't crap out on me. It tends to do that sometimes. We will turn the we will bring the power up to a neutral 7% torque, like so. Ensure that we don't roll forwards or backwards. We will clear the master caution. Who knows what that was about? There goes the parking brake. We can go ahead and do the takeoff warning test, which is, hang on. There we go. That's essentially this switch here. So if something was not configured correctly, we would hear the takeoff warning enunciation, sound, whatever you want to call it. It's a beeping sound. So essentially, if something's not configured properly on the aircraft for takeoff, it would basically warn us. That's VPilot in the background. Hopefully, it's not too loud. Somebody broadcasting on Unicom. I'll have to get that up. Right now, I still have the checklists up. So we'll taxi out to the runway. I don't see any traffic. There's no traffic at Leeds right now. We'll taxi down Delta. We'll get next to the runway. We'll stop short. We will announce our intentions, turn the transponder on, and hopefully get out of here. Very short taxi out. I don't like spending too much time on the ground. I mean, it's cool to be at a large airport like Heathrow, but I find, you know, when I don't have too much time to fly, I'd rather spend it in the air anyway, and I end up taxiing a little too fast, and it's not, you know, it's cool to see all the other aircraft and to be in the thick of it in terms of traffic, but there's something to be said about these small airfields as well. And Sion is a very, very small airfield where we're going. We'll eventually, as we start ranking up, and I think when we get to the captain's position, we'll probably continue a little bit with the dash, but maybe we'll go over to the 7.3s as well, and do some low-cost fly-to flights. That'll be nice. We'll change that up a little bit. I'm pretty comfortable in the 737 at this point, and we'll explore some new destinations. Maybe get to, you know, some larger airfields. Fly2 has some really fun routes as well that we can check out. I haven't started on the Highland connection just because I'm not usually a turboprop guy. I mean, even just having the dash, I got that, you know, way after having had the PMDG 7.3 and 777. It's definitely given me a respect for the dash. I also have the PMDG JS41, the Jetstream, and that's actually what turned me on to turboprops in the first place. I had a blast with that aircraft. Unfortunately, not compatible with P3D, so that was back in the days where I was still with FSX, the boxed edition. If you guys want to see some flights with that, I'm open to the possibility of doing that in the future. But for now, we're sticking with the dash and progressing through the ranks. We'll fly UK. Okay, so that is the parking brake master caution. That is fine. We will go to the... Actually, I'll pull up VPilot on my other screen quickly. Okay, nobody announcing anything for Leeds. I will quickly type in EGNM, traffic, departing, runway 32. Okay, back to the checklists. We have lineup first officer. Let's see. Anti-call lights go to white. Like so. Landing lights can go on. Bleeds as required, so they are staying on and min. Flaps are set. And caution panel, well, we can release the parking brake, is black. Let's turn on our transponder. Like so. Nobody on final on TCAS. We'll have a look visually. I don't see anybody. We'll look at the other end just to make sure. Nope. Let's go. You know, I'm almost thinking we don't need full length and we can kind of just depart from delta. I don't have my charts on the other screen, so I can't say what the runway remaining is. Let's backtrack just a little bit. We won't go to the full end. We can swing it around and come back from, I don't know, about halfway to the end from here. That should be enough. We're light. It's fine. So we'll hug the left-hand side of the runway here. We'll turn around at the piano keys. Bit of off-roading there. That's fine. Okay, gust lock. Off. Wind up here. Like so. That's okay. The windsock just had a moment. That was interesting. It's having another... when I look at it, it stops. Alright. Whatever. Let's go. Knots. V1, rotate. V2. Positive right, gear up. Look where I'm going. We didn't do too bad. Whoops. I laid off the rudder there. Always need a whack of rudder when you're taking off in this thing. Pitch up a little bit. Looking good. Looking good. Alright. Let's engage the autopilot and start cleaning up the aircraft. I will turn TrackIR back off. There we go. We can go ahead and set climb power and start to pitch down a little bit. About 10 degrees or so. We'll start accelerating. Bring up the flaps. Let's see. Climb. Nope, after takeoff. There we go. Landing gear is up. Flaps to 0. We will increase increase the speed just a little bit before we bring the flaps completely up. We'll probably do it at about 160 or so. Here comes a... Alright, I was going to say a left turn, but we're going right there for a second. Okay. Just going to sync up the heading just in case something does go awry. We should be heading out down towards here and then the intercept for Nelsa. Should start to see a left turn any minute now. Instead we're going right. Not much to see. Oh, did I turn on? I didn't. Yeah, there we go. Windshield heat and all that. Nope, not the wipers. I did forget that. I guess it wasn't in the checklist, but the windows are kind of fogged, so we can't really see much. There's the city of Leeds, or the town of Leeds. I'm not sure. City? Town? I should know this. Back to the task at hand. We can go ahead and, let's see, where were we on the checklist? We can go ahead and bring the flaps up now. Flaps coming up. We are approaching flight level 70 rather. Go ahead and put standard. Pardon me. Accelerating nicely. I'll check VPilot in a second. If there's no traffic around, we'll continue our climb all the way up to cruise. No sense in staying down here. It's a rather inefficient altitude. But in the meantime, after takeoff, so flaps are up, bleeds can go to on and norm. Climb power is set. We have standard altimeter. We are starting to overspeed. I'll bring the power back like so. We'll keep it at 240-ish for now, as the aircraft levels itself out at flight level 70. Starting to make our right turn now. You know, that's another thing. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, but the pilot has a pilot side window heat. You can see the elements over here. The first officer has no such system in the Dash 8. It is starting to clear up a little bit, but no such system to clear the fog off my window, which is why I'm anxious to move up to captain on either this or some other aircraft. Sync up the headings. We are starting to go past that 240 knots-ish. Bring back the power just a little bit more. We'll climb here in a second. Ice protection is as required, which it is not. Pressurization is checked. Fuel pumps can go off, auto feather can go off, and we'll start our climb. Like so. And we will dial in our cruise altitude, which is, 230. Like so. We're almost at Nelsa at this point. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it into, not VS, IAS mode. We will dial it down to, we'll start with 200 knots. And the aircraft will start to climb. Press the Alt cell. You'll see that now that I've requested 200 knots out of the aircraft, we were at 240. So it's bringing that speed down, and the way it's doing that is by pushing the nose up, which is initiating our climb. We can add in our power very nicely and slowly and gently. We'll have to check the trims in a second. It is coming back. You can see the three diamonds here, kind of just dancing about like that. That's due in part to the winds aloft, and also the fact that I'm changing the power setting. So we are experiencing some sort of turbulence at this point, this juncture, but it looks like it's starting to clear up. I'm happy. We're above the clouds. This is beautiful, isn't it? Everything is going according to plan. We've got our climb rate of 3,000 feet per minute. As soon as that starts to get down to, 1.8 or so, I'll bring the speed back all the way down to 180. We'll get nice and high first, then we will start to accelerate. Passing flight level 100, those can come off. Those should have been off. We don't need those, and we don't need that. As soon as we complete this turn, we will release the flight attendants and the passengers. Like so. We will once more sync up our heading. Like so. I forgot the weather radar, didn't I? Sure I did. Yep. That's okay. We'll leave it on for the rest of the flight. Better late than never. Leave that like so. I like to get a one perspective of a little bit more tighter in on my flight plan, and the other one a little bit more of an overview, if you will. We are now approaching Barton, which is the second waypoint on our flight plan. We'll be flying past just east of Manchester, down past London, over the English Channel, and I'll probably talk to you a little bit closer to, maybe not closer to the top of descent, maybe midway through the flight. We'll talk about the arrival at Sion, and then we'll go through all of the procedures to get ready for that descent, for that RNAV approach, and yeah, we'll take everything really slow and get everything set up really early. This is a challenging approach. It's a steep approach. There's a visual aspect to the final part of it. A lot of fun. That's why I chose this route, is because it's something different, and I felt like I was up for the challenge. Not much ATC on, so we can afford to maybe mess up a little bit even, and have to go around. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but our diversion airport is Geneva, right close by. I know that's got, you know, it's an easier approach. ILS is all around. Big airfield. We can get support there. I know there's a couple of flights that go down there, so we definitely have not a full-on base at Geneva, but we do have aircraft mechanics there and a support team, operations, all that good stuff. Anyways, I'll leave you to the climb, or I'll leave us to the climb, and I'll talk to you a little bit later on in the flight.